Welcome my dear student. In this session of the computer network we will study some more topics from the chapter web applications. Now starting with the first topic that what I am going to discuss, that is switching techniques. First of all you should know that what is switching techniques. So when we have a larger network, there are so many paths from one system to another system, or you can say there are so many paths from the sender to receiver, and the packet or the information has to choose a single path to travel from the sender to a receiver. So this work or the task of selecting a particular path is called the switching technique. Suppose that from your house to any particular shop there are 2 or 3 or 4 more shortcuts from your house to shop, and you will have to select a particular path when you are going to purchase anything. Then which path will you select? The selection of the path is known as the switching technique. There are two main switching techniques. The first one is circuit switching and the second one is packet switching. So now we will discuss one by one. The first topic that what I am going to discuss, that is switching technique, that is circuit switching. The circuit switching means there is a dedicated path between the sender to the receiver. When a particular data is moving from one system to another system, then what will happen? No one else can be able to send the data on that particular path. Means when one person or the one particular person or one sender is using a path, no one else is allowed to use that particular path. This type of switching technique is called as the circuit switching. So in this type of technique, first a connection is established between the sender and the receiver. When the sender sends the data, first it establish a path between the sender and receiver, and this path is the dedicated path. And after the data is transmitted and received by the receiver, the path is broken. So in this way of the data, there is a, you can say there is a dedicated technique, and there is no any type of collision among the data. Means if one then more sender is sending the data on the same path, there may occur a collision. You can say that the circuit switching is a collision free switching technique. Now moving to the next topic, that is packet switching. You can think like this, that the data is break. In the packet switching, the data can be break into multiple packets. Means a complete data is break into 1, 2, 3, how many packets it may be, and sent from different paths at the same time according to the traffic on that particular path. And when the data reaches at the receiver end, it will be again compiled and the whole message can be retrieved. Now try to understand the difference between these two packet switching with the help of example that what I am going to discuss with you all. Suppose that a group of 5 friends is going from place A to place B, and there are 4 or 5 paths through which you can go to place A and place B. So in the case of circuit switching, what will happen if all of you friends selected a path, like you all have selected a path place to place B is path B. Then when you are going through the path B, no one else can use that particular path. Only you and your group is going on that particular path, is using that particular path. No one can else use that particular way. And once you have reached at your destination, the path may be used by someone else. So this is circuit switching. And in the case of packet switching, if there are 4 or 5 paths and there is a traffic on each and every path, so what you will decided कि तुम इधर से आओ, मैं इधर से जाता हूँ. So in the similar way, all your friends can go from different paths, has taken the different paths, and when you have reached at the receiver end, there is again a meetup, and you all can assemble together. So this type of switching technique is called as the packet switching technique. Now we have the few network devices that what we are using in the network in order to transmit the data. As we had discussed in our last session that there are various type of network available, that is local area network, campus area network, personal area network, and you can say the metropolitan area network and the wide area network. So when we are transferring signal from one network to another network or one system to another system, there is some devices are required in order to completion of the communication from one system to another system, and those devices are known as the network devices. So there are variety of network devices available, so I am going to discuss with you all one by one. So the first device that what I am going to discuss, that is a repeater. So what is a repeater? Like, try to understand like this: when we are sending data from a system A and system B, and there is a long distance between system A and system B, then what will happen, that when moving in the particular path, the system or the signal became weak in the path. So a repeater is required. What it will do, the repeater amplifies the signal on the same strength at it as transmitted from the sender end, and after the repetition or after the amplification, the signal is again transmitted. So you can understand like this: the three friends are standing in a row, first friend, second friend and third friend. First friend has called the friend number 3, that is on another end, and when you called him, the voice cannot reach to that particular person. So the person in the middle or the friend in the middle will call it again, and after calling it again, the third person or the person at the end will able to listen that what you are saying. So the work of the repeater is similar as the friend that who is standing in the middle of the path. Now moving forward, we have another network devices that is called hub. So you can say hub is a multi-port repeater, whereas repeater has only 2 ports, means it can be attached with only 2 systems, but where we are using hub, so a hub can be attached more than one system. Hub is used under a network. So when we are connecting the system with in a network, within a network, so what will be happening, there is data transmission from one system to another system, as we have discussed in the mesh topology and the star topology, in the bus topology, that when a system sends the data will reach to the other systems also. So what the hub will do, hub will transmit the data to all the system that the hub will receive from a single system. So each and every system will compare the address that is on the information packet, and if the packet match with the address of that particular system, the data is received by that system and discarded by the others. So hub is used in a network or a particular network net system, and it is used to connect many system and to transmit the data that is received from one system to another system. And hub don't have any sort of intelligence, so it can find out the best path through which the data can be sent. The next topic that what I am going to discuss, that is bridge. So bridge, as the bridge do, it connects two end of the river. In the similar way, bridge is used to connect two type of networks, and the bridge is an intelligent hub. You can say the bridge is an intelligent hub. So bridge having the idea, for example, there is a network A and network B, and there is a bridge among them. So if a particular signal sends from network A, and it is dedicated for any particular system that is already in network A, so what the bridge will do, bridge will resend that particular data in the same network in spite of sending to the network B. and when a network A will send any data for the network B, the bridge will check the destination address, and if the bridge will find that the particular data is for the different network, so it will retransmit it. So the bridge lets the traffic on the routes by identifying the address of the data, by identifying the address of the information sent by the sender to the receiver. The next topic is switch. So as bridge has only 2 ports, it can connect only 2 network. In the similar way, the switch can connect more than one network, and it is called multi-port switch, and the working of these two systems like bridge and switch are approximately same. And in the similar way, the switch has one more functionality, that while it is sending the data, it checks the packet for any error message. Means while sending, if there is any type of data loss or if there is any type error, the packet with error is detected and written back to the sender. So in this way, switch can also control the traffic, and the errored message cannot be reached to the receiver. So in this form, you can say that switches work as the filter also, that can filter the messages which having some sort of errors. Now the next network device we have is the router. So as its name implies that the router is resembles with something routes. So when the router receives some type of data and the router has to send the data on the receiver circuit, then what router do? Router select a particular path which has having the less traffic. Means when the data will passes through the less traffic network area, then what will happen? That it will reach to the receiver end quickly. So the router is responsible to select the path which having the less traffic, and then the router sends the data to that particular path, and it will reach in the less time to the receiver. Now the next topic we have is the instant messaging. So you can understand instant messaging when we can compare it with the WhatsApp. So when we are online chatting means we are chatting in the real time. We are sending the data and someone else is receiving the data and responding on your particular data. Then this type of message services is called the instant messages servicing. So the instant messages servicing allowed the user to send the text messages, that what you send in the WhatsApp. You can make the audio calls as well as video calls by using the instant messaging, and you can also send or the transfer files from one person to another person, and these type of messaging services keep the history of the messages sent from your particular system or the received by any particular network or the particular person. So when trying to understand about the instant messaging, just keep in your mind what you are all doing on the WhatsApp. So there are two type of instant messaging services is available. The first one is the application based and the second one is the web based. So in the very starting, when we don't have the Android mobile phone, or you can say the smart mobile phone in our hand, so then there are some application based instant messages servicing were available. Like the very common example for the application base is the Gtalk or the Google Talk. So the Google Talk is a part from the Gmail services through which you can send or receive message by installing the Gtalk application on your desktop or on your laptop. Whereas the web-based application services, that what we are using now, that by using the internet from where or from any system you can send the data, like what we are sending in the Telegram, Skype, Instagram. So these are all the services are the instant messaging services is the web-based. So nowadays we are not using the application-based instant messaging, because we are all using the Android mobile, and with the help of that particular mobile we are sending and receiving the data. So normally we are using the web based instant messaging services. Now the next topic is chatting. So what is chatting? You are all familiar about the term chatting. Again, the chatting is a sort of communication over a internet. Means when we are sending and receiving data, and basically the chat messages are very short enough so that you can easily communicate with one person on the internet, and you can send and receive some important points and important topic in a less time. And the chatting and the instant messaging can be done in the real time. So it is important to understand the term real time. What is a real time? So in the real time you can say the same, means both the people are active at the same time. Means you can say in the term of WhatsApp, both person is online. So when both person is online, means who are sending and receiving the data, then this type of communication over the internet is called the chatting. Now we have the next topic, that is chatting etiquettes. So there are always etiquettes, and you all know the etiquettes what we are showing on the internet is called the netiquettes. So when we are chatting with someone, we should follow some sort of etiquettes. The first one is use computer courtesy. So what is courtesy? Means you should be courteous and respectful to others while sending an email or chatting on the internet. Means your language should be humble, and you should be respectful, and there is no any type of arrogance in your messages. So all these points come under the topic computer courtesy. The next point is do not shout. Now this is an point. So when we are not talking, we are simply typing the message, then how can we shout on the chatting or while we are sending the instant messaging? So in the term of chatting or in the term of instant messaging, the shouting means using the bold case or the uppercase level while sending the message. For example, if I am sending no like this and no like this, so this is a simple no, that what we are saying to someone. And when we are giving any sort of emphasis, means no, then what we are doing, we are shouting here. So when we have to communicate any message that have more impact, and what we want that this particular message having put impact on the receiver, then we are using the uppercase letters. So normally we don't use the uppercase letter because it shows a sort of arrogance when we are talking to someone. Now the next is pay attention to the language issues. Your language should be simple, your language should be generous, because you are not talking face to face, so the next people is not able to see your face expressions, facial expressions. So it is important to convey your messages with the help of your language. So your language should not hurt anyone else while you are chatting on the internet. The next one is use internet acronyms. So what is this? This is the short form of the words used on the internet for the communication. Means usually for the laugh out louder we are using lol. So LOL. So this is what this is the internet acronym. So this is simple to type and easy to understand. So it can be used when we are doing chatting or when we are talking someone on the internet. The next is a topic, it is very important topic, that end a conversation properly. Means when we are talking to someone, it is very necessary to end a conversation in a polite manner while chatting. Means if we are talking to someone, a proper ending message should be sent, like bye, it's over, and whatever you want to send. Means if you are simply ending the message without sending any such type of messages, then what will happen, the person on the other hand can wait for your message, and this is not a good thing. So this can be avoided by using the ending messages while you are ending your data or your chatting. Now moving forward, the next topic that what I am going to discuss is blog. The term blog is derived from the term weblog. So a blog is a type of website usually maintained by an individual, and it contains a regular entries of any particular topic, description, event, or some other materials such as graphics or video. You can also say that blog means to maintain or add content to a blog. And we all know that a person who writes a blog is called a blogger. So when we write a blog, you can see that a blog combines text, images, links to other blogs that are related to your topics, and it may also contains the links for the other web pages or other media that what is related to your topic, on which topic you are writing your blog. So blog can be of two types. The main popular blog is the personal blog, and the personal blog is an ongoing diary, means diary on your own experiences, in which anyone else or in which any individual can comment, means can also share the experience according to your topic. So in a simple way you can say that what is blog? Blog is an online diary or online page that contains some sort of audio, video and text materials. So the main advantage of blogging. So what are the advantages of the blogging? That with the help of blogging you can manage your online identity, means you can share your ideas and views. The next is you can create your website as a very low cost, because the cost of blogging is very low. And while you are creating blog, you may explore some new things, and about these new things you will learn. When you are writing on the web page, when you are writing publicly, then your writing skill also improves. So according to your writing skills, your any proficiency in any particular new language in which you are writing the blog get also increased. Some technical knowledge may also achieve, and when you are online you will connect to the new people. And with the help of that particular blogging, what will happen that it builds a profile for you as a writer, and it is also a showcasing for your talent and your expertise. So these are the few advantages of the blogging. So in the similar way, when you are writing online your experiences about any particular topic, then this is called the blogging. It's where you can create your blogs is www.wordpress.com, livejournal.com, blogger.com. So these are the website where you can create your blogs. Now moving forward, the next topic is offline blog editor. So what is offline blog editor? So when we are working online, it may happen there may be some type of interruption in the network, or it may also have that we are taking much time while we are writing on the internet, and in this particular time or in meanwhile your data get wasted. So what we can do, we can write our complete data, our complete analysis, our complete matter offline, and after the writing and after the being satisfied by the matter what we have written, with the help of the internet we can post it. So this is the benefit, or you can say advantage of the online blogging. So you can also write your blog in the offline mode. So here some common offline blog sites are that Kumana, Blogjet, Windows Live Writer and the Blogdesk. You can use any one of this. The next topic that what I am going to discuss, that is online transaction, means when we are transferring money from one person to another person online. So this type of transaction is called the online transaction, and you can say online transaction is another name for the e-commerce. E-commerce is the technical name, and while we are talking in our general sense, we are using online transactions. So online transaction can include both the things. When we are transferring money from one bank to another bank, when we are transferring our money to any shopkeeper, when we are transferring money from one person to another person, means when we are transferring money to our relative, when this type of transaction has happened online, then this type of data is called, or this type of work is called the online transaction. And this type of transaction is secured and the password protected. And nowadays, after the demonetization, online transaction came into the focus at a very high level, and we are all using now Paytm, Bheem, Google Pay. These are the few apps that what I am taking here their names. So with those particular app, we are sending our data online. The next topic is online shopping. Online shopping or e-shopping. E-shopping is a part of the e-commerce, means online transaction. E-shopping and online transaction are two different things. Now make it clear that in online transaction, when we are transferring fund from one bank to another bank, or from our another account to another account, this type of money transfer is also known as online transaction. It also includes the sending money to any shopping site, to any merchant. So you can see the online shopping is a branch of e-commerce. Okay, and we all know about online shopping. There are variety of online sites are available, like Amazon, Flipkart, Myntra, and many more are there. So with the help of those shopping sites, you can shop your data easily. So one more thing that what I want to discuss, that when we are buying things from the online shop, it is called the B2B business, means business to business online shopping, means the data is moving from one person to another person directly. And as you see in the ad of the Groofer, by cutting the mediocre cost, you can get each and every article in a lower money, or you can say in less expensive way. So what are the advantages of the online shopping? It is time saving. We don't need to go somewhere else. By sitting in our room, by having a mobile phone in our hand, we are doing the shopping. Wide range of option available. We can visit more than one sites. We can see more than one product at a particular time. We can compare products. If we have any type of confusion among 2 or 3 products, then we can compare it easily with the help of other websites. So we can see the review of the product also, means the customer who had already bought the particular product writes some review that how the product works. So these are the some advantages of the online shopping. And what are the disadvantages of the online shopping? The disadvantage of the online shopping is that the sometime there may be some sites that are fake, and if you are trying to purchase something, if you are trying to pay money online, then there may be any kind of fraud may occur with a particular person. And when we are transferring money, then also there is a chance of making fraud. So usually we opt cash on delivery. So this is a safer side when we are purchasing from the e-shopping. And there is one more thing, that usually when we are purchasing anything that does not meet the minimum cost of the shopping, they charge some sort of shipping charges also. So the shipping charges may increase the whole cost of the article that what we are purchasing from the shopping sites. And delayed delivery in the remote area means the area in the outskirts of the town or some interior places when it takes a long time to deliver the product in such kind of areas, and when we don't like the product, we want to refund the product, we need some sort of exchange of that particular product, it takes a long time and so many follow-ups are required. The next topic is e-reservation. So what is e-reservation? We all know that when we have to go somewhere else by using train, bus or the airways, we are having our reservation, and when we are doing our reservation with the help of internet, then this type of reservation is called the e-reservation. So the main benefits and the advantages of the e-reservation is that it is convenient, scope for discounts, there are many sites that provides many type of discounts on the tickets, it is quick and easy, we can do it in a very small time, there is no any type of commission fee there, and if you want to cancel it, there is no need to stand in a longer queue, we can easily cancel it, and the refund is also easy in the online field. Now here we are talking about some ethical issues. So before starting with the ethical issues, you should know that what kind of ethical problem that what one can face on the internet. So we all have our some data on the internet in the form of photos on the Facebook, in the form of some messages on the WhatsApp, in the form of your Instagram account, in the form of your Google Drive, and if someone is using your data without your knowledge, without mentioning your name, then this is called the piracy. That this is very simple name that what we are all familiar with, that is piracy. So ethical issues is almost related with the piracy. So when we are talking about the ethical issues, indirectly we are talking about the term piracy. So in order to prevent the data from the piracy, we have some type of preventive measures that what we can take to save our data from the piracy. The first one is intellectual property right. So when we have some data on the website in the form of anything, for example, we have written a blog, we have written some kind of post, so I am only the deciding person who is going to decide that how much data can be distributed or the copied or anything else. No one can take the data without our permission. Plagiarism is a sort of stealing. The second name or the alternative name that what we are using for the plagiarism is a stealing. Means if we are trying to copy some data that is not our data, that is not authenticate data, that what we are doing, we are stealing the data from that particular owner. For example, we are copying the data from someone else and we are not mentioning the source of the data from where we had taken the data. So this type of work is taken under the term plagiarism. So there is a page or there is a section in a project file that is bibliography. So the bibliography is the page where you can mention the name of the source from where the data has been taken. So what type of safety measures can be taken? It is very simple. So keep your personal information and professional information limited. Don't post your personal photos on the internet. Keep your privacy settings on. There is a safing browser option, means there is cognizant window also from where your data cannot be tracked by someone else. Download antivirus software on your system, use firewall on your system, your password should be strong. So these are the few measures through which you can save our data from being theft. So this is all about today's session. Hope with the help of this video you will be able to understand the topic. Thank you.